Some of the biggest improvements in my health this year haven't been from adding more to my life. They've actually come from things I have stopped doing. So today I'm sharing some of the health habits that I have stopped, from dieting trends to mindless scrolling and what I'm doing instead. Hi, I'm Leonie and welcome to my channel. Now, at this age and stage in my life, I'm prepared to do just about anything to be as healthy and happy as I possibly can. So I've been making some adjustments to my lifestyle of late. They've had some really positive impacts on how I feel and just in my general health. So I wanted to share some of those with you today because I'm sure you will find some of these little changes and swap outs super helpful as well. And a small part of today's episode is sponsored by my favorite online website builder and host, Squarespace. But I will tell you a little bit more about them and share a very cool discount code with you shortly. I used to think that intermittent fasting was the holy grail of health. And I'm sure you've heard a whole lot about how amazing it is. But it turns out most of the studies that have been done on intermittent fasting, wow, that's a tongue twister, have been based on men. Now, I recently listened to a podcast by the amazing Mel Robbins. Now, she interviewed a Dr. Tracy Sims, and that interview just completely changed the way I think about how I eat and how I exercise. Now, I'll leave a link to that interview in the description box below because I urge you to listen to the full interview. And one of the things that came up in this interview was that fasting can actually add more stress to a woman's body. And that's especially for women in midlife. It was almost like a light bulb moment for me. I used to get up in the morning and try and not eat until maybe midday. I thought that that was the best thing for my body. But it's no wonder that I was feeling kind of stressed and tired and just this sort of overwhelming feeling of anxiety that I couldn't shake. Now, the basic thinking behind this, and I do urge you to listen to Dr. Sims because she explains it perfectly in the podcast. But essentially, if we don't break our fast in the morning, we end up with raised cortisol levels, which basically just make us feel stressed and anxious and do create a whole lot of unnecessary stress to our body. And that's why breakfast becomes really important. She also talks about splitting your breakfast up in two, and that's been perfect for me. So I start my day with some overnight oats or some Greek yogurt with some granola on top, or a little bit of fresh fruit and Greek yogurt, essentially trying to add some protein into my diet. But I'll have a small part of my breakfast in the morning, even if it's just a couple of mouthfuls. I'll head out and take my dogs for a walk, or I'll go to the gym. And when I come back, I have the second part of my breakfast. So it's all about eating about 30 grams of protein over a couple of hours in the morning. And I can honestly say that I feel definitely more relaxed and less stressed. And it's also helped me when I do go to the gym in the mornings. And it's just given me a little more energy rather than trying to work out and function on an empty stomach. So intermittent fasting has definitely been wiped from my schedule. I've also stopped undereating. And I grew up in the time where the whole thinking about dieting was to lose weight, you needed to eat less and move more. And it turns out our body is far more complex than that. And that's especially so as you get older and you want to maintain muscle mass and bone density. You really need to eat enough and eat the right things to achieve that. And undereating just purely to lose weight it's a double whammy for your body. It stresses your body, it doesn't work, and it's not fueling you with the nutrients and the right things you need to create a healthy body as you age. And listening to Dr. Sims in that podcast really reaffirmed this to me because protein is one of the key things that we need as women, and it's incredibly hard to get the amount of protein that our bodies need. So instead of trying to eat less, I'm trying to eat more of the right foods, and I'm incorporating some protein into every meal of the day. So I'll have protein for breakfast in the way of Greek yogurt or a protein powder supplement, or I'll have some scrambled eggs. I've realized I can't survive and I can't be healthy and give my body the best chance possible to age well if I don't get enough protein in my diet. The other thing I've done to try and get more protein in my diet is to reduce the amount of processed carbs that I was eating. And I don't know about you guys, but I found it so easy just to have a couple of pieces of toast and that would sort out my hunger. But those processed carbs are basically empty calories. They fill you up and they mean that you don't eat the protein requirement and the good nutrition that you actually need. So now, instead of those processed carbs, I try and think about how I can replace those with some good quality protein instead. The protein also helps me feel fuller for longer, so then I'm not wanting to snack or feel like I need a sweet treat to kind of get me through the day. So definitely reducing some of those processed carbs in my diet has not only helped me get more protein in, but it's definitely made me feel better as well. And at this point, I'd just like to say a very big thank you to the team at Squarespace for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. If you haven't heard of Squarespace before, they're an online website builder and host. I've used them for many years now to host my website and others. Squarespace also recently introduced a cool new AI feature called Design Intelligence. Now, this new feature is a game changer because it makes it even easier for anyone to build a stunning, personalized website that does everything you need it to do, including creating an online store to sell physical or digital products. It helps you create and sell online courses. It really does make life so much easier. And the great thing with Squarespace is you don't need any tech skills at all. If I can build a website using Squarespace, then you can too. They also have some amazing templates, which I find are a really good place to start when it comes to creating your own website. All of the templates are customizable too, so you can change them up whenever you feel a little more confident on the platform. So if you haven't tried Squarespace before, then what I suggest you do is whip on over to squarespace.com, take advantage of their free trial. When you're ready to push play, simply use my unique URL, which is squarespace.com/The Style Insider and my code, which is simply The Style Insider, and that will give you 10% off your first website or domain. It's a really good offer. I will leave everything linked in the description box below. So if you are looking to launch yourself online, then I can hand on heart recommend Squarespace as the easiest and most effective way to do so. Now, this one may be surprising, but I've cut back on eating so many smoothie bowls. Now, they look beautiful and healthy and they're full of berries and fruits, but what I didn't realize, all of that sugar from the fruits actually spikes cortisol levels, which isn't good for us. And that's probably why I would feel hungry an hour or two after eating a smoothie bowl, and I'd sort of feel stressed as well. I found this one the craziest healthy habit to give up because I love smoothie bowls, and I just for years thought that they were the ultimate in a good, healthy lunch. So what I do now instead is I generally opt for, surprise, surprise, more protein-packed lunches. So I make sure I get eggs in there and veggies, maybe Greek yogurt, or I love chia seed pudding or even overnight oats. I'll have that for lunch with some Greek yogurt and some nuts. Just some good wholesome food with plenty of protein. And the downside to this is that it takes a little bit more planning and a little bit more, I suppose, thought and preparation in putting together some of these meals, but it definitely is worth it. I feel much healthier and happier, and my weight has been probably more stable this year than it ever has been in my life, just by making these changes. Next up, I've also stopped denying myself treats. I tend to find that restriction always backfires, and for me, I'm a chocoholic. I have a real sweet tooth, and I'd try and say no to chocolate for a whole week, and then come the weekend, I'd find myself eating an entire bar. So for me, restriction never works. So what I do nowadays is I make sure that I incorporate some treats and foods that I really love every day. So for me, I have a sugar-free hot chocolate every night. It's sweet and delicious. And I also have some of my favorite chocolate every night after dinner. It's probably not the healthiest thing to do, but it does mean overall it keeps me on track. It doesn't make me feel like I'm missing out or I'm depriving myself of some of life's little treats. But it also means that I don't overindulge because I'm completely trying to cut out something that I enjoy. So this one is a little bit of a no-brainer. I was falling into the habit of having a gin and tonic every day after work, and I kind of convinced myself that it was my little treat for working hard during the day, and I'd look forward to it. And what I tended to do was I was kind of winding the clock back every day, and I'd be sort of starting to look at the clock at about 4 o'clock and trying to work out, okay, well, I'll pour a gin and tonic in about an hour. And what tended to happen was I would have one gin and tonic, but every day of the week. And when you add that up over the course of a year, it's just not very healthy. And I think there's been a lot of studies and there's a lot of science that backs it up, that drinking alcohol every day is just not healthy for us. In fact, alcohol, full stop, is not a healthy option. It provides no health benefits and in fact is only going to be a negative when it comes to our health. But for me, I do like to practice a bit of moderation. I don't like to completely wipe these things out of my life. So what I tend to do these days is I still enjoy a gin and tonic, but I keep it for the weekends. So that is sort of my weekend treat, that maybe on a Friday or a Saturday night, I will enjoy my good old gin and tonic. And over the course of the year, that has reduced my alcohol intake significantly. So for me, I exercise some moderation. I don't completely take it out. And the thing that I like the most about this is, I suppose, alcohol for me has become more of an intentional thing as opposed to it being a habit. And that makes me feel like I've got more control over it, and it's something that I choose to do, not something that is just an automatic everyday thing like brushing my teeth. It's not a good habit to fall into, so being a little bit more intentional about it has definitely helped me. The other thing that I've stopped doing is excessive cardio. Now, I also grew up in the days of aerobics, and if you didn't go to an aerobics class and work out to within an inch of your life, you didn't really work out. Well, that was kind of the thinking and the mentality, that we had to go absolutely hard out with every workout. And what I have realized, certainly in the last year or two, that that's not the case. That's not when you're getting the most benefits. And essentially you can do yourself a lot of harm as well. So I have taken out a lot of the cardio that I used to do, and I've replaced it with weight-bearing exercises. And this was also discussed in the Mel Robbins interview about how what we should be doing to grow healthy bones and keep our muscles strong and to keep upright and walking into our older age is that we need those muscles to do that. So the only way that we can build those muscles is to be lifting weights. Now, the other change that I've made is that I used to lift a lot of smaller weights. I think I was being a little bit scared about hurting myself lifting heavy weights. But certainly in that interview, Dr. Sims talked about the importance of lifting heavy. Now, not lifting heavy to basically injure ourselves or to do ourselves damage, but lifting to our kind of capacity. And the great thing about this is that you don't have to lift as much, you don't have to spend as much time in the gym. I was spending a lot of time lifting weights because I was lifting a lot and lifting light weights. Now I lift less and a little bit heavier so that I can spend less time in the gym, and I can also get more benefit from the time that I do spend there. I still do a little bit of cardio from time to time, but it's not a regular thing. If I feel like running on the treadmill, I'll do that. But that's more about my mental health than it is about trying to flog myself and exercise to within an inch of my life. And it also means that I don't dread going to the gym because I know that I'm not going to come out feeling absolutely exhausted. I've done a workout, I've pushed myself, but I've worked out to really benefit my health more so than just absolutely annihilating myself. The other thing I did also was I stopped toughing out menopause symptoms. Now, there's been so much talk about HRT and whether it's good for us or whether it's not good for us. And I think that's left a lot of us with just feeling confused and a little bit scared to go down the HRT path. Now, for me personally, I've done lots of reading and lots of research, and what I have realized is that HRT works incredibly well for me. It means that I don't have to suffer any of the awful symptoms of menopause, like hot flushes and certainly brain fog and anxiety, some of the things that I was struggling with. But for me, I have decided, and obviously I've talked quite a bit with my GP as well, that I am on HRT, but I'm on the smallest dose possible. And I've kind of managed it so that I don't have a huge dose, so that I'm not getting more estrogen into my system than my body needs, because we do know that cancer can grow and go crazy with estrogen in your system. So for me, I found that reducing my HRT and just operating on the smallest dosages possible give me the best benefits and the safest outcomes as well. Now, of course, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not preaching what you should do, but I do think it's worth discussing it with your doctor. I don't think we have to put up with the nasty symptoms of menopause. There is help in the way of HRT, and it's about managing those risks versus rewards. The other thing I have stopped doing is wearing busy as a badge of honor. Now, I grew up with the thinking that you always had to be busy, that women could do anything, that we can take on every role and juggle motherhood, working full time, running a household, doing all of those things. And that was almost like sort of seen as a badge of honor, that we can do it all. But I have, in the last couple of years, realized that there is no prize for trying to do it all and not asking for help and trying to be busy all the time. No one really thanks you, and certainly your body doesn't thank you either. So for me, it's been a mindset change, and instead of looking at burnout as sort of a flex, I really look at trying to create some more balance in my life. And that's not easy. I think it's incredibly hard to do. But I've learnt to say no more often, and I've also learnt to ask for help. So instead of me feeling like I have to do everything, I ask my family and friends for a helping hand sometimes. And there's just nothing wrong with that. It's not easy. It's hard if you're especially like me and you're used to juggling it all and trying to do it all, but it's not good for your health, and it definitely leads to burnout. And I've been very close to that a few times, and I don't want to go down that path anytime soon. So I've really learnt to say no and to not feel like being busy is the only way forward. Another thing I've stopped doing is doom scrolling at night. Now, you may be thinking, why was that even something that you thought was healthy in the first place? And I think for me, I was always scrolling, looking for ways to create balance in my life or some key well-being tips and tricks. But what I did find is that doom scrolling and just aimlessly, mindlessly scrolling on social media just left me feeling worse about myself. It left me feeling not good enough, or not pretty enough, or not stylish enough, or just in general not enough. So I have now put in place a little bit of a rule that when I knock off from work at night, I also stop any sort of social media. And I found myself falling into the trap of always kind of reaching for my phone, whether if I was, say, watching TV at night perhaps, and there'd be an ad break or just a natural pause, I'd grab my phone, I'd do a quick scroll. And I found not only was I getting addicted to that, but I wasn't able to focus on just being in that moment. I was always kind of reaching and comparing and scrolling on social media. So I've stopped the doom scrolling. I've stopped that kind of mindless looking for answers, looking for something that is appealing or that I should be doing or that I should be changing in my life. And I just switch off all of that noise. And switching off all of that noise when I switch off my computer at night has been the best thing for me, and certainly for my mental health. It's just meant that my mind can slow down again. It can take a break from all the comparison and all the noise out there. And it just allows me time to just sit with my own thoughts and sit in the moment. So the real take home here for me is not to unplug for a week, but just to create some parameters and boundaries around social media and being online, because For me, if I don't, I definitely find that it really impacts negatively on my mental health. So taking away some of that has just been such a freeing thing. And it's also made me feel like I've got a sense of control back in my life as well. So it's good. It makes me calm and just takes some stress and undue pressure off my plate. I also wanted to cover off a couple of little bonus tips, things that I've been making myself do, or some changes that I've been consciously making that have really affected and positively impacted my health and well-being as well. And one of the first things has been to simply smile at people. Now, I know this may sound crazy and a little bit basic, but there are certain situations in life that just are made so much better and so much happier if you smile. And I've noticed recently when I'm walking my dogs or walking around the supermarket, people are busy and stressed. We're all busy and stressed. But occasionally, if I see someone looking at me and they've sort of got just a grumpy, distracted look on their face, I'll just smile at them. And it's almost like it breaks the tension. Often people smile back. So it's just one of those kind of feel-good moments. I've recently started doing this at the gym, and I don't know about you guys, but I find gyms to be often really awkward places where people are just in their own world and they want to be in their own world. They're in a bubble. They go there to work out and not to necessarily make friends. But I think sometimes we fall into the trap of we just kind of zone people out and we don't even acknowledge other people. And I've started smiling at a couple of people that I regularly see at the gym. They smile back to me, and it's just created a more positive, happy place for me to go. And I know that almost sounds a little bit simplistic, but I have made a conscious decision just to, instead of staring past people or just not acknowledging people, I'll smile. And it just creates a really positive interaction, which makes me feel better and hopefully makes them feel better too. The other thing I do is try and meal prep on Sundays. Now, I don't do crazy meal preps where I create all of the meals that I'm going to eat for the week, but I do just sit down for half an hour and put a little bit of thought into my week, what it looks like, where I'm going, what I'm doing, what my son is doing, and make just a few little notes and some plans. I might roast some veggies to put into a salad, or I might just prepare some overnight oats to create some breakfasts, just a few things so that I'm armed and planned for the week. I do find that if I'm caught short and I'm hungry, I'll snack and I'll grab the wrong things, or I'll put some toast down and I'm not fueling my body as well as I can. So I do spend a little bit of time, maybe half an hour on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, just to really think about what we're eating for the week and how I can make sure that I don't mess up and I've got enough good protein-rich foods in the house to eat. The other thing I've been doing lately is prioritizing my friendships. And sometimes when I get busy, social engagements and my friends tend to get pushed to the bottom of the list. And I've realized that your friends are so valuable and so important to you. Friends to me are like medicine. It's the laughter, it's that feel good that you get from spending time with good friends that I've realized is not only fun, but really valuable to my health and something that I want to prioritize and continue to prioritize even more. Friendship and companionship really is medicine. So it's important for us not to push these things aside and put them to the bottom of the list. Certainly for me, I've been making far more effort and wow, it just does make me feel so much better. Anyway, that's it from me today. I would love to hear whether there are some healthy habits that you've stopped that are making you feel better, or just in general, some healthy habits that you've adopted this year that are really having a positive impact on your life. I'm acutely aware as I age that I want to age as healthy and as well as I possibly can. So I'm definitely open to trying all sorts of different things to try and achieve that. So please let me know in the comments below what you're doing, or if you've made some healthy changes that have positively impacted your life. But thanks so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this one. And if you did, I'd love you to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.